Hello guys, thank you very much for joining in. Today we are having a quick session with one of our students who has given the exam for FRM Level 1 in this May 2021. And we wanted to have a quick chat with him to understand what has been his experience for the exam and some critical points that he faced, some nuances related to the exam. That is what the agenda of today's session is. So Prasad, thank you very much for joining in and sharing your experience. For the benefit of the audience, can you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Hi Ganesh, thanks for having me. I am Prasad. I work with a bank in Tokyo, Japan. It's been 10 years now, and I'm appearing for FRM Part 1. I took this exam in Tokyo, so unlike in other countries, Tokyo were allowing examination, so I took it on 21st of May.
Okay, perfect. So, so the exam which was in Tokyo, for example, now before the exam, when you entered the exam center, what was the experience? I mean, was there any particular checking that happened with respect to COVID or with respect to normal exam checking that you faced? Any specific points on that?
So, unlike I think other countries are asking for COVID test, it was not requested in my case.
Okay.
There were some guidelines as per GAR that you should be wearing mask.
Okay.
Sanitize yourself, and that was it. When I entered the center, I think it was not PSI zone. It was outsourced center. So
okay.
there was not much of candidates. I think it was for not only for GAR, but other examinations were also conducted there. So that was the. So generally the way. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
So at the same time, so your exam was also getting conducted and some other exams were also there.
Yeah.
Okay. So before you started the exam, were there any specific instructions that were given to you?
Yeah, so there are a couple of instructions. One is you cannot take anything apart from your calculator and your passport, which is an ID card. You might be carrying a driver license in different country.
Okay.
That are only two things you need to carry inside your examination hall or on your computer, which is allocated to you. Rest all you can keep it in one of the security drawer, which is provided to you. You can carry the key as well inside. So all belongings, if you're carrying any notes, if you're carrying any food items, you cannot carry that inside. Along with that, they will give you 2 blank papers, front and back. There are four of them. You can use it. They said they will give you a pencil, but they actually gave me a pen. So those were things and the instructions. You could take a break. It was allowed if you want to use the washroom, or if you have any other reason to take a break, you can take a break. It was mentioned there. You need to call up the prompter, and then there was a facility. Tap a button there. As soon as you tap, someone will attend you, and then you can leave the device for washroom or something. But the examination will go on. The timer will not stop. So that was
right.
If you may break, it won't stop. The time won't stop.
Right. So basically, 2-3 important points that you mentioned. For example, the mobile phone and all of that will not be allowed in the session, right? They will be giving you blank papers and a pen or pencil, basically, to make notes of yours. And the calculator primarily is allowed in this session. And there was no calculator on the computer. There was no virtual calculator available, right? You have to carry
I didn't find any. I didn't find any.
Okay. And primarily you were allowed to take a break, and there was also no restriction in the sense of how many breaks you can take. Basically, you can go as much, you can take as many breaks between the 4 hours time as such, right?
Yeah, because I didn't take any break. I didn't need to take any break. But if someone wants, and of course, it will be at discretion of that particular center.
Okay, so you started. Sorry, go ahead, please.
I never heard any such restriction there, so there was no mention of that you can take 1 or 2 breaks. But generic, you can take a break but time won't stop.
Okay, perfect. And you started, so when was the official start time of your exam?
It was 10:30 local time.
Okay, and you started at the same time, or?
So actually, we were asked to come 30 minutes before. I reached there at 10 o'clock, and as soon as I entered, because there were no other students, I think they allowed me to start the examination. So
Okay.
I might have started maybe 10 past 10, roughly that. Once you clear all those instructions and keep your belongings, I was not asked to wait till 10:30. I was allowed to start my examination. Yeah.
Okay, okay, great. And as such, did you find any other students coming late for the FRM exam? Because now the reason I'm asking you this question, because when the physical pencil paper exam was there were strict guidelines as to when the exam is going to start. If you're delayed by 15 minutes, you would not be allowed to enter. So since this is an exact 4-hour exam slot, are they giving any leeway? Do you see any such thing happening?
I frankly, I didn't. There were people coming in after me as well, but they left before 4 hours. So I thought they might not be sitting for FRM part 1. But the fact that they allow me to start 20 minutes before, they might allow you to start 10 minutes if you're late, correct?
Late also, right?
Because it's their own timing, correct? And the system calculates its own time. As soon as the time is done, system automatically shuts down, throws you out. So I can't clearly say that they will allow, they won't allow, but
you have not specifically seen any such incident.
And I was looking into, I wasn't concentrating on who's coming in and coming out. Okay. There were a couple of people came in, and as I said, they mostly they were not for FRM.
Okay.
Because
very. Okay, great. So any technical glitches that you found before or during that 4 hours time with you that happened?
No, there were no technical glitches.
Okay, because there's a specific reason I'm asking you this question, because one of my students sitting in Dubai, his exam was cancelled for a particular day because there was some technical glitch, right? So and like you mentioned, there have been a lot of other incidents also in where people faced issue with respect. I think so. This is the first time they're conducting it globally. That's the reason they might be facing the teething issues. What that? Yeah. So
they were facing some of. I read online that some of the candidates who appeared in the first week of May, they were facing issues, and they were asked to reschedule their examinations.
Okay, but in the same window. That is, are you aware about that?
Yes, a couple of them, posted back saying that they did attain, they did sat for examination
afterwards, basically. Okay, few more very basic queries. You have the option to get the Z table or T table in the exam. Do they provide it as a form of the exam panel itself?
Yes, there would be a reference option which will help you to get the Z table and whatever reference numbers are. Generally what is the rate, whether it is continuous rate or discrete, whether what are the currencies, abbreviations, and what all you saw on the first page of the practice exam, which was given by GAP. Same thing will appear in the reference option, which is adjacent to your window and just right hand side corner. And if you click on that, the reference window will pop up, and there you will find all these details. So for the benefit of the audience, what Prasad is primarily saying is that the format of the GARC sample paper and the exam is almost same, the way they are conducting. Okay, and you have already solved few sample paper before the exam, right? Yeah, I had gone through 2020 and 2021 sample exam, but unfortunately both of them are same. They have not changed. They have not changed. They've only changed few numbers over here and there, right? And that I didn't even realize that, because and I saw a couple of mock exams or mock tests on your app, so that was okay. Now during the session, during the exam, so out of 100 questions, what was your feel? Was it very quant driven? Was it very theory driven? What was the entire feel? I thought it is more of quant, based on what I've gone through in terms of mock test of intelligence and mock test of FRM. I thought it is more of theoretical based. It wasn't quant.
Okay, so you were prepared for quant primarily, but a lot of theories came in.
Yeah, I was prepared for quant, and that was my forte as well. That if I get a quant question, I can solve it. But a lot of theory questions, yes. I think
right, because primarily in quant, you can either get the answer or not. There's no two-way. You'll either calculating it or not. Simple. You don't know the formula, don't know the formula. In theory, you have a lot of ifs and buts that comes into picture.
Even if you go through some of the theory questions on practice exam, they're itself really confusing. Imagine you get more of that and you're putting into that situation. I think that's what might happen.
So you were able to solve the entire 100 questions properly in 4 hours, or did you find less time?
No, I was able to finish the 100th question just before 4 hours. So I think 5 minutes before 4 hours. Because it was more theory based, not quant. So I thought, as such, I even in the practice exam, I was able to clear all 100 questions in 4 hours. So that wasn't the issue. I was more of an accuracy issue for me.
Achha, okay. A few more smaller things. So like generally we normally see in the computer-based exam, you would also have an option to flag a particular question so that you can come back to that question again. Right?
Okay.
It was there. And also when you were shifting from one question to another, was there any time lag that you faced, or was it very smooth?
Yeah, it was really smooth. Yeah.
So primarily there was no technical problem as such that you faced, even during the session itself. Okay. And when you saw, I'm referring back to the question like GARP sample paper. So did you found the actual exam at that level or slightly above? What was your experience on that front, comparing it with the sample paper?
I think if you solve the sample questions, it will give you a good amount of confidence. But you can't rely on sample questions. So you need to prepare out of the sample questions. Right. In case there's more theory, because nowadays, because of the computer-based test, they have the ability to test you differently than they're testing someone in North America or someone in Asia, correct? So they have got a flexibility now. So I think you need to prepare outside of the sample question.
Right, the one which GARP has issued. Now you have also gone through our question bank, right? So give me a feedback. I mean, how was it when you sat for the exam? Then does that question bank helped you in terms of taking you to that closer to the actual exam question?
Yeah. So for me, it was because I started a little late in the entire preparation. And I wanted to solve questions paper before, at least a couple of days before I appear for the actual examination. I might have hurried into test without completing some of the chapters or without having a good hold on the syllabus. So I always was getting that sense that I don't know some questions, or I don't know. I'm not able to solve these questions because I might not have studied these concepts. But whatever I could study and whatever was tested, I think that was enough to solve any type of questions in the examination.
Right. So basically the question bank that you solved for those topics which you had some grip about, and when you saw the similar type of question, you were able to connect back.
Yeah. And not only your question, the mock test of 100 marks, 100 questions, but the individual test, the sectional test, they were also important because, when there are 60 questions when there are 30 to 20 to 30 questions on a single chapter, you're able to get all the questions, all type of questions,
Right.
In the examination, you only get 2 or 3 questions per chapter maximum.
Right.
So when you're solving those sectional test or the subject or the syllabus test, you will get a lot more prepared than just solving the mock examinations. So I thought, because I solved those mock tests as well, I got confident in some of the chapters where I could go through. And where I couldn't, I think that was a struggle anyways. Wherever I left the syllabus, wherever I could not complete the mocks of those particular chapters, mock test of those particular chapters, I think I struggled.
Okay. Now, one more very specific question. So in the exam session, when you were solving the question bank, I'm talking the actual exam, okay? Did you find any specific difficult question? If yes, then what was your strategy to come to that right answer?
So I might have spent 10-15 minutes on 3-4 questions where I could not find the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. So so sometimes the question, or you have solved the question, but something is missing in that question which you are not able to click, and you ended up spending 4 minutes on that question, and then you realize that you need to move on, and then you click some of the other, correct? It is important whether you need to make sure that whether you can solve that question or you need to move on. You can come back, of course. I mean, even after that, I could finish the entire 100 questions in time. So I don't regret spending 4 minutes there. But then, yes, there were some difficult questions. The strategy was to spend time, but not spend more than 2-3 minutes. And
more than that, right?
As soon as you realize that it's not your cup of tea, then move on.
That's correct. You have to take that call. Basically.
Yeah, you have to take that call. Otherwise, you might, people said, that last 10 questions are always easy. You should not. I heard that's great theory as well, but then it doesn't help. You might not get those that lucky, I would say.
Right. So out of the 100 questions that you solved, now what is your own assessment? How many questions you know that, okay, I'm sure that this is going to be the answer? How many questions where you are, say, 50% sure? How many questions where you're sure that the answer which I've ticked, there's no chance that it can be very, very close to the answer, or basically you just guess the answer? So I just wanted to get that bifurcation on a rough basis.
I think, so to answer that questions, it is very important what type of question paper was. Is it theoretical or is it practical?
Right.
I mean, more of the problem or the sums. And when you solve sums and you get the answer, the correct answer. Correct. I think I was during the mock examinations as well. I was not that accurate. Even after solving 100 questions, I would get in the range of 60-65. So I will go with that.
Okay.
But the way GAP tests you, they don't throw options. What I mean to say, their options are also very close. Even if it is a sum question,
right?
And say, for example, you're talking about calculating call option premium. They might, all the options might be through the formula. And if you do a small mistake, or instead of using ND1, you might use ND2.
Right.
Still, you find the answer.
Yes.
Even after finding that you right click the answer, you might be wrong, because there are very similar options where there are GAP test you, and this is really difficult. The false sense of that you mark correctly.
Right. So, and also
type 2 error.
Type 2 error, yes. Okay. So one more quick question. So did you find any specific topics which were kind of calculation driven, but the institute asked you theoretical question on that? There were questions, a lot of them. Okay.
Lot of them.
Right.
That's how they created the theory. That's how they created the entire theoretical questions. Though the base was practical, be it Pearson's formula, or be it CAPM, they will not directly ask you what is the Sharpe ratio.
Right.
They will ask you, whether it is which manager you should choose, which fund
which portfolio you should choose. Right.
Yeah, so exactly.
Right. So the reason I asked you this question is that a lot of people, when they focus on the exam preparation, they try to focus on the calculation part more, and they're worried about the calculation part. Because I get a lot of query that stating that I'm not good in calculation, I'm not good in quants. Will I be able to clear the exam? But in the exam, they are indirectly asking you theoretical question on to check your understanding about that concept. That is what I wanted
beyond
to be.
I would say it's beyond calculation, because first of all, you will have to understand formula. Say, for example, something goes up, what will the impact of the answer will be? Correct. If the interest rate goes up, what happens to interest go down? What happens? That kind of questions are very. But then you will have to understand what is the formula, and then what is the basic use of that formula. Just relying on formula itself is not an issue. And if you're finding it difficult to solve the formula, this is beyond formula. This is beyond sum, I think. So
right. Okay. Right. Okay. So basically, obviously, you should know the formula, but the intuition of the exam is not to test how fast you can calculate or how accurate you are getting the answer. It is more about understanding about the formula and how it is applicable in the exam. That is where they are primarily testing you. Right. So one more thing. Now, once you completed the exam, what happened after that?
So as soon as you finished 4 hours, it will be the pop-up will come. Your examination is submitted because you completed the time. Then there will be acknowledgement that on this day you completed this examination. And surprisingly, on top left-hand side corner, I saw a kind of option where if I choose, or if I click that, it takes you to the score.
Yes.
And I am really surprised. Giving you a score. I did hear these rumors that this time GARP or this time the exam is giving you score at the end of the.
Right.
I was not so sure about those rumors, and then when I actually saw, it's actually true.
Okay, so the reason I asked you this question is primarily for that particular point, because on the forums, a lot of forums, I have also heard about you getting the score. Now, for example, if you're getting 70, let us take a roughly number 65. Okay. Now, for the benefit of the audience, this might just be the score of the entire 100 question. Okay. Institute has not given any information on that number. What exactly does that number represent? Neither to you also when you went for the exam, and neither online. They have not given any information. What I generally assume that you cannot decide on the success of the exam on that number. There is a reason, in which I was also talking to you, that suppose if you scored 65. Now, if suppose that out of 65, you solved 40 questions from book 1 and book 2, which is foundation and quants, then that doesn't mean you will succeed. Similarly, if you're scoring very high and you are neglecting one particular book, that doesn't mean you're successful. So ideally, it has to be a balance of all the question. So even though your score might be low, but if you've solved from all the question back, all the chapters, all the book, you might clear the exam.
True.
That is
I'm not even sure that score represents my score. It
right.
Might be something else. And if I would suggest, don't even look at that score, because it's another 1.5 months for the result. You will end up getting stressed.
Right. No, the reason I said, because specifically there were 2-3 people who were posted on Reddit also that they are seeing the score. What does it mean? So do not get worried. I'm talking to the entire audience now. So do not worry about it. Any which ways, you will not be able to see anything before the exam result. So there is no point looking and worrying about that number, right? So, and do any external assessment. I got this number, that means I should be passed. So instead of that, just don't assume anything and wait for the right exam date or exam result date. Okay, but this was something very different, which we have not been able to see in any of the online exams also, which Pearson conducts, right? I have not seen that happening in CAT. I have not seen that happening in any other exam where you get the immediate score, a particular number which represents your performance. So that is the different point that we all saw. Now after the exam, please.
And your score does not matter much in GAP. I mean, what other people score, that is important.
Yes.
The grading is curve based. So how many people are ahead of you? How many people are
Behind you, yes, that makes a big
behind your
difference.
score? That makes more difference. And of course, you need to score a good amount of percentage. But
Right.
once you scored, it's out of your hand. You can't do anything.
Right, and also there are when the result is declared, they will give you the percentile on the basis of each book. So it is not like that you can ignore a particular book, right? Because one of my student in the previous exams, I'm talking about 2018, he scored book 1 third quartile, book 2 fourth quartile, and book 3 and book 4 first and second. So primarily his score was 3, 4, 1 and 2, and he cleared the exam.
Okay.
So basically because he was focusing on book 3 and book 4, he got very good score in book 3 and book 4 because of the highest weightage, and he was not that confident on the regression piece and the hypothesis piece, so he was not able to score that good, but ultimately he cleared the exam. So even getting 1, 2, 3, 4, he cleared the exam.
Yeah, that's good.
So that kind of experience I have seen. It can also be, I've also seen students clearing book 3 and book 4 2, and book 1 and book 2 3.
And fail.
Also say no, cleared the exam.
Okay. So even if it's 2, 2, 2, even if it is 3, 3, 3 people do score.
No, generally 3, 3, 3 is not passed. Generally, if 3, all 2s are passed. This is what I've seen.
Okay. So all 2 is like more than 50%.
So you're clear, more or less you're clear.
Okay.
See, also in that part, when you talk about that bucket of 25%, you can be at the top of the bucket or the end of the bucket also. That also matters.
Even that.
Okay. But generally, this is what we have seen. If you're scoring good in book 3 and book 4 and slightly you're not able to perform in book 1 or book 2, then they make sure that you clear the exam.
No.
That way. Perfect. So after the exam, there was no other procedure that happened at the center. Just were asked to leave and go, right?
The collective belongings.
Was there any particular email that you received from Garth that, okay, thank you very much for attending the exam, anything like that?
I didn't get any. If I got it today, I'm not sure, but I didn't get any.
Okay, basically, okay. So great. So thank you very much, Prasad. Thank you for sharing your experience, and this, I'm sure this is going to help a lot of students who are going to be appearing for July exam, which is going to happen primarily in India. We're expecting that to happen now. So this will help them because this is the first time everybody's going to go for the online exam, right? So that is going to be a big change, and your experience is definitely going to be helpful for them. So thank you very much for the same, and we would see how we can have furthermore such kind of sessions with you where you can share your experience with our students in future related to the work that you might be doing, right? So thank you very much. So and we'll thank you very much, audience, for joining in, and we will be posting this video on the YouTube so that you guys can access it as and when possible.